still posted on Patreon. And because I posted on Patreon chapter by chapter, it has to, for me, it's still a web serial in my mind. So each episode I post, which could be 1 chapter or 5 chapters, has to have its own little mini arc. It has to have its own escalation. And as a direct result of that, Dungeon Crawler Carl has extremely fast pacing because of the nature of the web serial. But at the same time, I'm still constructing it as a novel, each individual one. And in terms of the question about like mixing the humor and then raising the stakes, I mean, that's my favorite part of the book is putting it together and trying to one-up myself from the previous book in terms of the stakes. I mean, if you've read book 7, you say, like, how the hell can we make the stakes higher than that? I mean, that's what I said to myself when I sat down with book 8. And then I think I figured out a decent way to do it. And now with book 9 in front of me, it's the same question all over again. But that's the joy I have in writing. I'm what people call pantser. I have no plot whatsoever ready to go. No plan, no outline. I just make it all up as I go along. Yeah.
So even like Princess Donut putting on the crown and what that resulted in later down the road, I won't spoil it for people who don't know, but you didn't plan that?
No, I had no idea. What happens at the end of book 5 was just a spur of the moment. Sometimes I go back and rewrite things to add to that. Like the whole scene with Louis talking about, without spoilers, like auto cooking stuff. I added that after the fact because I wanted that to add in. But as I'm writing the first draft of the story, it's everything that happens just happens in the spur of the moment. Has anybody here read book 8? Raise your hand. There's a couple of you. You can read it on my Patreon, or you can arc it in time. There's a really crazy ending to that story without any spoilers, and I had no plans on doing that whatsoever, and it was just spur of the moment because I thought it was funny at the time.
Right on. Final question for me, because I want to leave lots of time for all of you. I'm sure you all have lots of questions for Matt that are better than my questions. Matt, why do you write lit RPG, and what are some of the unique ways that you think that writing format is very different than any other kind of writing? So how does it give you unique opportunities to experiment with your settings, your characters, your world building, and your plot puzzles?
The cool thing about lit RPG in particular is it's kind of like cheating. I first discovered it right around 2014, 2015 because I borrowed a book from Hoopla, the library, that was a Russian translated audiobook lit RPG, and it was like horribly translated, but it was a really fun book to read because you think you can do that. You can put like video game like stats in the book and then it controls the narrative in a way. And I second I read that, my mind just went crazy with like ways to exploit it. But so many books are quote unquote progression fantasies where the character gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And with lit RPG, it's really easy to quantify that in a very specific way, just like you're playing a game. So it's a narrative tool that can be very, very effective in building up your characters. A lot of people who write lit RPG tend to lean on a little too much, in my opinion, where it becomes more about the progression than the characters themselves. And I'm always going to be a character first guy. But I think that idea of normal people stuck, suddenly thrust into a world where they can get themselves very, very strong and in a very quantifiable way, like they're literally stuck in a video game, is neat. It's cool. And there's so many people writing this style of book now, and there's so many cool ways that people are exploiting it, and it's always been interesting to me.
Me too.